Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice of radio. So today, we are back with round 4 from the Charlotte, North Carolina League Cup. We're skipping round 3. It literally lasted about a minute and a half. You would not have wanted to watch it. It was not terribly interesting. Huge thank you to Alex Wilson and everyone over at the Emerald Break for letting us use this footage. In this round, on the left, we have Caleb Rice playing Gardevoir, a deck with which I am familiar and for which I've got quite a bit of love. And on the right, we've got Chris Watkins, who's playing Buzzwole. So basically, we have that age-old challenge of the fast deck that is going to aim to just overwhelm before the other player can set up, and the slower deck that when it gets set up could absolutely roll. That, of course, being Gardevoir. Now, Buzzwole can get a one-hit KO on Gardevoir. Certainly the GX attack, Absorption GX, before you've taken any prizes, can absolutely get a KO. And you can, with Knuckle Impact, get a KO. You kind of need, of your free energy, one would need to be strong, and you need a Diancie Prism Star, and you would need a strong energy. So strong, Choice Band, Diancie Prism Star. So absolutely doable here, but shall we say not the easiest trick to go ahead and pull off. But it can be done. Now, it's going to be interesting to see which build of Gardevoir Caleb is playing. For a long time, it was all about let's smash with, and that was off the table. I have no idea who's going first. It was all about, hey, let's see how much damage we can hit. But then around about the International Championships last year, it kind of turned into a little bit of Max Potion. Let's just use Max Potion and heal off constantly. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go through. So like I've said, we've got Caleb on the left, we've got Chris on the right, we've got Gardevoir against Buzzwole, and hopefully they're going to start going any moment now. Because we've kind of done our intro at this point, boys. We are ready to start the game. I would quite like to know who's going first here. If you're interested about round 3, Michael Morton, Zoroark Garboda beat Jeremiah Seagrove Schmutz's Buzzwole in about 2 seconds flat. So we have an Evolutions Mewtwo with Caleb, who seems to be going first, and Chris flips over a Buzzwole, and straight away Caleb here going for a Tapu Lele, searching himself out a supporter, and given that he's playing a setup deck, it can only be a turn 1 Bridget here. He's going to go ahead, search out that Bridget, get himself 3 basics, and he's gone for 3 routes. Interesting that he's actually gone for the psychic routes here. I mean, essentially, the fairy routes can be smashed by Registeel, and the psychic routes can be smashed by... Is he playing a Mysterious Treasure? I'm not 100% sure right now. He searched out 4 routes. Although it looks like Chris has got his go, and it looks like Jeremiah didn't have any energy there. Okay, so there's the Bridget, eventually. And there's an N there. So I'm thinking it was probably Mysterious Treasure discarding an N for a route and Bridget for 3 routes. This is why he's playing the Psychic routes then. They've both got the same HP. Psychic routes is a little bit more vulnerable when it comes to Espeon GX. Yes, it was a Mysterious Treasure. Boom, called it, even though the glare completely ruined it. So we do, on Chris's side of the field, we see a Buzzwole. Straight away, we got a Diancie Prism Star. And he's got that Brooklet Hill down. And I'm just trying to see, that is a Rockruff. As his hand goes over, we can see the card. So we've got a Rockruff and a Max Elixir here. Hitting a fighting energy, and he has hit it off this Max Elixir, onto your Rockruff turn 1 is absolutely huge. Because you want that second energy so you can basically drop down a Lycanroc whenever, but you need your attachment to Buzzwole. And we see a Cynthia coming down here for a new hand of 6 cards. And this is absolutely huge. It means that now at any point he can evolve up into Lycanroc, add a second energy, and then he's got the GX attack. And Dangerous Rogue will do 250, which will KO a Gardevoir, given that Caleb has got a full bench. But it also means he's got the strong energy on the Buzzwole, so he can start using that Jet Punch to spread a whole bunch of damage around. So a really, really nice turn here from Chris. And honestly, I don't think there's much he needs at this stage. He's got his Brooklet Hill. He's got his Rockruff with an energy. He's got his Diancie Prism Star. He's got his Buzzwole with a strong energy. If he was attacking into a GX, he might need a Choice Band, but he's not. So we do just see here 70 damage, 30 base plus 20 for the strong energy, plus 20 for the Diancie Prism Star, plus 30 onto a Ralts, and then straight away Rare Candy into a Gardevoir, evolve into a Curlier, play a Field Blower to get rid of the Float Stone off Diancie Prism Star, and then a Professor Sycamore. Very, very nice hand. We see a second Curlier there. Now, annoyingly, you generally want the Gardevoir with no energy, with no damage on. That's ideally what you would be looking for. But as soon as you got 30 damage on, a Jet Punch will KO you on the bench, so you've got to evolve it up. Still no energy for Caleb here, which is something which could get awkward as this game goes along. The good news is, he's got a Gardevoir, 2 Curlier, and a Ralts. He is absolutely swarming right now. Bad news is, he's going to go 1 prize down, and he hasn't got any energy down yet, which is a little bit of a pain. So we do see a second energy going on to Buzzwole here. This is annoying, right? Because it's not enough energy to use Knuckle Impact, but it will let Gardevoir do an extra 30, which is a little bit of a pain. So now the question is, do you do the 30 to the Ralts, hoping that you can KO it with Jet Punch next turn, or do you just start chipping away at that Gardevoir? Do you need the extra free damage counters? The problem is, he's probably not using Jet Punch next turn. He's probably going to use Knuckle Impact, so he doesn't need the damage on the Gardevoir, but that's going to give Caleb an extra turn to evolve the Ralts. Not that he needed it. So there comes Candy Gardevoir, and there's a Gallade. This is a great swarm here. And it looks like, I want to say, a Rescue Stretcher. No Super Rod. Coming down and getting that Mewtwo back. And now he does finally have an energy in hand. Looks like he might have a Professor Sycamore in hand as well. So this is a very, very good start he's had. He had to give up the Mewtwo. And now that Gallade is a single prize Pokemon, so we're not expecting a 7 prize game here. But as Caleb does take his prize slightly later than he maybe should have done. Sorry, Chris takes his prize. You guys have got the names on screen. I don't. I've got a little piece of paper in front of me. It's not as easy, ladies and gentlemen. So we do see a Sycamore coming down, getting Caleb a fresh hand of 7 cards here. And yeah, it looks like we've just got 1 energy on there, and we're just going to be doing 90 damage with Gardevoir. You can't fault it, to be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. It's fine. It's a decent attack. It's not as much damage as Gardevoir can do, but it's not as much damage as Gardevoir needs to do. You're not getting a 1-hit KO, so let's work on a 2-hit KO. Now, there is a second energy coming down there with Secret Spring, and actually, no, he's going to be 10. Oh, my goodness, he's got it. He's actually got the KO. So I'm sitting here saying, oh, he's going to chip away. 2 Gardevoir mean 2 Secret Spring. Double colorless energy attachment for the turn. Choice Band. And he's actually hitting 210. I was literally in the middle of working it through going, oh, double colorless would only put him up to 180. And boom! Choice Band comes down. Infinite Force for 210. This is old school Gardevoir. This is kind of World Championships and just after last year Gardevoir. This is, I am going to pile a whole bunch of energy on and just overpower you. And what do you do if you're Chris here? The answer is, it's got to be Lycanroc energy. If he gets a Lycanroc, oh no, he needs a Choice Band as well. As it stands at the moment, he's hitting... No, he's not, sorry. He's hitting 220. And because of the Diancie Prism Star. So with actually that Jet Punch damage, Gardevoir will be going down. So we do see a Tapu Lele coming down for an N here. This has got... He's got to get a Lycanroc. If he gets the Lycanroc, he can use Dangerous Rogue GX, which will hit for 220 with Diancie Prism Star, putting Gardevoir up to 250. That will get the KO and bring him back into the game. Now, the other thing he needs, and there's a lot he needs here, the other thing he needs is Buzzwole and Beastring. So, and this is a lot to ask, but let's say for argument's sake, he could draw Lycanroc, 2 Buzzwole, 2 Beastring. Beastring lets you search your deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to an Ultra Beast, just so long as your opponent has 3 or 4 prizes remaining, which Caleb does at this point. That would be perfect. That would be amazing. As it is, he's got the KO, and he didn't even actually need the choice band on the Lycanroc here, because he was already doing 200 with Dangerous Rogue, plus the 20 from Diancie Prism Star would go up to 220. But by attaching it, that's one fewer card you could draw with N, so it's raising the chances a little bit. Honestly, if I was Chris here, I'd have been tempted to go Professor Sycamore. I'd have been tempted to just draw as oh, there we go. But no, you don't use Bloodthirsty Eyes here. Okay, so he doesn't get Beastring, which sucks. But he at least gets to take a couple of prizes here. So he's back in it. If he hadn't been able to get the Lycanroc that turn, it would have been over. Like literally the whole game would have been over. And this is the issue of playing the hyper-aggressive Gardevoir. What happens when this happens? So as it stands at the moment, there's 5 energy total, that's 150. But he's used his attachments for the turn. Now, if he can get a Gardevoir and an energy to Secret Spring on, and a choice band, that will put him up to 210 and get the KO, at which point it will pretty much be game over, because Beast Ring's turned off and he's got no energy on the field. But he's already used his supporter for the turn. Now, good news, he's got an Oranguru on the field, but he needs to have Gardevoir Energy Choice Band. It's possible, but it's a lot to ask. Now, the good news is he has got that Premonition ability, so if he can lower his hand enough that he can draw some stuff, then he's going to be potentially okay, but it doesn't look like he can get his hand low enough to use Instruct, so he ends up just hitting for 150 with 5 energy total. That's not bad, because here's the thing about Lycanroc. If you're hitting a Zoroark for weakness, it's a great attacker. If you're not hitting a Zoroark for weakness, it's brilliant for the GX attack. But as soon as the GX attack runs out, you got Claw Slash for 110. Okay, Strong Energy, 130. Diancie Prism Star, 150. Choice Band, 180. That still won't get a KO on that Gardevoir. And this is why playing aggro Gardevoir can be so punishing. It's hard to knock out a 230 HP Pokemon. And if you don't knock out that 230 HP Pokemon, it hits harder next turn. And I don't know if Caleb's deck is just impossibly consistent, whether he's had a good run or whether it's somewhere between the two. But you saw his stage 2s were just coming out in the early game here. He was just whacking down those stage 2s, drawing those double colorless energies, and you know, he's got the Gallade, he's got the Oranguru, he's playing a lot of Professor Sycamore, which can be risky in a stage 2 deck, because if you end up using Sycamore and discarding the rare candy, then you might not end up getting those stage 2s out. It can be risky playing aggro Gardevoir. If your opponent can one-hit KO, you may well end up losing. If you end up having some horrible Professor Sycamore discards in the early game, you may well end up losing. But if it goes like this game is going now, and look, I know he's down by a prize, but let's just ignore that for the moment, shall we? Here's the great news. Baby Buzzwole. Hey, Nick! There is a baby Buzzwole on the field, ladies and gentlemen. And you may notice that at this exact moment, there are exactly 4 prizes remaining, which means Sledgehammer will do 120. 140 with a choice band. 160 with a Diancie Prism Star. Even with a choice band, you're only going up to 220 and Gardevoir's got 230. You can get pretty gosh darn close to a KO here, but you ain't actually getting the KO. That's a bit of a pain. So we do see the retreat into the Buzzwole, swing around. Sledgehammer will do 120. Plus the Strong Energy is 140. Diancie Prism Star is 160. Plus the 30 on there means you are at 190 damage. It's close, but it's not close enough. At this stage, if there are any max potion in Caleb's deck, and I'm fairly sure he just showed us a max potion. The timing was beautiful. So we do just see a retreat here. As long as he plays a supporter, then Galade's going to hit for 130. That'll KO Buzzwole. And at this stage, Caleb could just race to try and take 4 more prizes and win the game. But he doesn't need to. He's got the setup. So what he can do here is take out the Buzzwole and just leave Chris with very few options. Jet Punch against that Gardevoir on the bench will not get a KO. It will put it up to 220. So Caleb can essentially sit here now feeling pretty good. Well, okay, I'm only taking... And there is the aforementioned max potion. He can sit there and go, look, I've got the KO on his Buzzwole, and fine, I'll still have to take 2 KOs, but there's a Diancie Prism Star that I can KO. There's a Remoraid, which may or may not evolve into an Octillery, which I can KO, and then there's that Lycanroc. So the path to 4 prizes is very, very, clear at this stage. Now, we did just see, I believe, a Premonition putting Cynthia to the top of the deck. Then he used an Oranguru to draw that Cynthia, and now he's playing Cynthia to give him a new hand of 6 cards. Honestly, the only things he really needs here are basic Fairy Energy, because he's still got access to Secret Spring to attach them. So getting some Fairy Energy on the board just so he's got that Gardevoir ready could be kind of nice, and he does draw... No, he actually drew 2 there. So the only question is, how many does he want to put down, and does he want to put them both on the same Gardevoir? As it stands at the moment, that Lycanroc ain't going to last very long. It's got 60 HP remaining, 2 energy or 1 energy choice band will KO. Now, I suppose you could say Caleb kind of needs Guzmas here, because the one thing that we are going to see from Chris, he's going to try and make it awkward for Caleb to take his last couple of prizes. He ain't going down without a fight, ladies and gentlemen. But what's he attacking with here? The only saving grace, the only good thing I can say about Chris's setup right now, he's got Beast Ring available. That was one of the great things about giving up 1 prize the previous turn. His opponent's got 3 prizes remaining. Beast Ring is potentially there. But let's say he gets a Baby Buzz, and he gets to swing around, and he hits a double heads. He will need that double heads and Diancie Prism Star to get the KO, or 1 heads. No, 1 head Strong Energy Diancie will only actually hit 140. He will need both. He'll need a Strong Energy and a Diancie with double heads. Wait, let me do the maths here. 160. Yes, he'll need double head Strong Energy Diancie to get a KO with Swing Around. Sorry, my maths failed me for a second there. Does 80. Flipping 2 heads goes to 120. Diancie's 140. That still wouldn't be enough to KO 150 HP Gallade. And we're talking like best case scenario here. We are talking if everything goes perfectly. That's what we can get. Now, slight correction there. There's 150 on... Actually, it doesn't really make a difference. It was on 140, but it doesn't make any difference to our calculations. So we do see a Rockruff going down, but I don't really see what happens here. Maybe he's trying to use Bloodthirsty Ice to stall out his opponent, but even then, I worry that it's not actually going to work. And here's the issue we've got. What does Caleb actually do here? Sorry, what does Chris actually do here? I don't have the names in front of me like you do. And he's clearly thinking a lot, but the only way he can really get an attacker going is Beast Ring. Sure, he can Jet Punch, but Jet Punch is not going to win him this game. He is not winning this game with Jet Punch. It just doesn't do enough damage. If we've got an Energy Guzma here, the game is as good as over. And it's not even like N's going to do much good, because Caleb's got both Gallade and Oranguru here. Now, Yeah, I mean, we just need Guzma energy. That would definitely be... That's what I'm looking for here. You can either take out the Lycanroc or you can take out the Remoraid. It doesn't really matter which one you go for. You could go down to Prism Star, but I'm worried about him having stuff in the future. So, was that an Ultra Ball? Mysterious Treasure? Looks like he's fitting his deck a little bit. Or fitting his hand, at least. Just trying to do what he can do here. Really, it's just a case of digging at this point. Now, we do see some more cards being drawn here by Caleb. And... oh, no, I think it's actually Premonition ability. It's that horrible Premonition where you just look and you're like... yeah, I don't really want any of those cards. But he is building up some Gardevoir there on the bench. Now we see an N. N is nice. And it's especially nice because we see we're tied up on 3 prizes here. But Chris doesn't have his Octillery down. Whereas Caleb has a Gallade in the active and he's got an Oranguru on the bench, Chris doesn't have any aids here to help him draw cards. This is the best time to draw an N. An N is... you want that perfect moment where your opponent's not got that many prizes remaining, but they've not actually gotten their Octillery out yet. And this is why Caleb's fast approach at the beginning of the game worked so well. He was so fast at the beginning of the game, so efficient at taking KOs, that Chris was having a rush to get attackers out just to keep a little bit of pressure on, and he wasn't able to go and search for those consistency cards. Just as I'm making this big point, down comes an Ultra Ball, and I didn't need to tell you what he was searching for with that one. That was definitely going to be an Octillery. All right. I still contend Caleb did the right thing. That was a beautifully timed N. It just didn't work. Oh, you can't have it all, ladies and gentlemen. You can't have it all. Now, as it stands at the moment, Jet Punch is still only actually doing 70, which means he'll need another strong energy. Chris needs another strong to get a KO here. And he's already used a bunch, and I'm not sure he's got one. And even if he's got one... okay, you put it down and get the KO, but you've got 2 prizes remaining. Buzzwole goes down. And, I mean, look, it doesn't take a genius to figure out how easy Caleb's going to have a time taking these last couple prizes. These last couple prizes are not going to be an issue for Caleb. The only real thing we're looking at here is there anything Chris can do to stop him? Caleb's got 2 Gardevoir, each with 2 energy on, and is looking across at a board where Buzzwole's got 130 damage already on, and Lycanroc's got 150 already on. It's not going to be difficult for Caleb to take his last few prizes. Chris, on the other hand, this prize, if he's got a strong energy, but where does his last KO come from? Where do those last 2 prizes come around? That's not an easy question to answer. Now, the good news is he did just hit a Max Elixir onto a Buzzwole. But Sledgehammer's not going to do anything because his opponent's got 3 prizes remaining. So he's building up for a Sledgehammer. And I don't know if I agree with this energy attachment. Because you see, he's not able to actually... oh, unless... if he's only got 1 energy left in deck and he's got a B-string, he wouldn't want to discard the energy with Sycamore. He'd want to attach it first. That might be what's... okay, that seemed like a weird attachment, but now I see what he was doing. If he'd played the Sycamore and hit a B-string, he wouldn't have had 2 energy to attach. Or at least he didn't want to waste the energy. So it was better off here playing a B-string after attaching the energy, because he would have just ended up discarding it with Professor Sycamore anyway. Alright, I'm down with that. Because as it stood right, that wasn't going to get him the KO. And that Buzzwole's getting KO'd next turn. That Buzzwole, if it remains active, isn't surviving the next turn. So putting 2 energy on to go up to 3 just isn't going to work. So we do see some calculations, Chris thinking things through. He's got at least 1 energy to attach with this B-string. It's just so awkward. I'm thinking, right, if he's got another Buzzwole GX, then it is worth just hitting the Gallade for 70 here, put him up to 140, and then just finishing off at a future turn. But then he knows that Caleb is playing Max Potion to thwart that. He could go for 2 energy onto the Baby Buzz and get a KO with Swing Around, because that would then do enough damage. but he might not have 2 energy left in the deck. So it's just a series of incredibly difficult, awkward decisions here. And it's hard to know what the best one is. So we see a Max Elixir here that somehow fails. I think there was 1 energy left in like 10 cards. Although, did he just look at his deck after playing a Max Elixir? I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check that back. But if he just looked at his deck after playing a Max Elixir, that's not something you're supposed to do. He might not have done. I'll go and check it. But just a little teachable moment, you're only allowed to look at the 6 cards you actually draw off the top. So we do see a Gardevoir coming active here. It's hitting for 150 already, so there's no issue here. We did see the Knuckle Impact getting a KO on the Gallade, going down to 2 prizes, but... And this, I think, is why Caleb can be a bit bullish here. He KOs the Buzzwole, goes down to 1 prize remaining, and he's like, look, if you take 2 prizes, I'm losing the game anyway. So I might as well just pile energy on a Gardevoir. The only thing Caleb needs to worry about here, don't put so much energy on a Gardevoir that a Tapu Lele can come and KO you of Energy Drive. I don't think he would, but it is something that you do need to be aware of here, ladies and gentlemen. It's something you need to be aware of. Because it takes a lot, but if there's 12 total energy, or 10 total energy plus a choice band, then a Tapu Lele can actually KO a Gardevoir. Having said that, Chris isn't playing double colourless energy, so I don't think it's going to come into play. So what does Chris do here? He knows he's lost the game next turn if a Guzma comes down. He knows he may well lose the game even if a Guzma doesn't, because 6 energy / choice band on a Gardevoir will KO that Tapu Lele. And it will be easier to KO anything else because everything else has got less HP. So I don't think at this stage there's anything Chris can really do. Maybe he can get a Lycanroc going, pull the Oranguru into the active, hope that Chris has neither the Guzma nor the energy to get the Oranguru out of the active, try and deck Caleb out here. It's not a great plan. But I think in the context of this game as it's going along, it's probably the best plan he's got. Okay. I don't mind this. There we go. He's just showing the double colourless energy here, just saying, look, I can retreat it next turn, mate. I've got a way to get it out the active. And... no, he's not actually got the KO on Buzzwole yet. He will need another energy. So, does he have an energy to retreat the Tapu Lele? There's the Guzma, brings up the Lycanroc, KOs with Gardevoir, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the win for Caleb, which we knew was coming, but it's nice to have it confirmed. It is so difficult to beat a Gardevoir deck that has that kind of start. It's doable if you're hitting for weakness, or you can hit all of your B-string, but outside of that, it's so difficult. Huge thank you to both of these chaps for playing along with us on stream. Huge thank you to Alex Wilson for letting us, and the Emerald Break, for letting us use the footage. As always, make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all that jazz, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do so. And the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.